Yesterday was the biggest model launch day in AI history. OpenAI launched GPT-5.6 Sol, Terra and Luna. Anthropic responded with Cowork for mobile. Then OpenAI merged all its tools into ChatGPT Work. Then Anthropic launched Claude Cowork. Both on the same day. The AI companies are no longer just racing to build the best model. They are racing to own your entire working day. Here is what that means. Let's set the scene precisely. July 9th, GPT 5.6 launches. Grok 4.5 goes public. The biggest model day ever. But buried in that same 24 hours were two other launches. Not models. Apps. And those two launches might matter more. Let's start with OpenAI's move. ChatGPT Work merges ChatGPT and Codex into one interface. Before this, developers used Codex separately from everyday ChatGPT. Knowledge workers switched between multiple OpenAI tools constantly. ChatGPT Work collapses all of that. One login. One interface. Every OpenAI tool in one place. Think about who this actually targets. Not casual chatbot users. Knowledge workers and developers who live inside these tools all day. OpenAI just removed the friction between them. That is not a small UX tweak. That is OpenAI trying to become the operating system for your workday. Now here's what Anthropic did, and it's arguably the bigger unlock. Claude Cowork launched for web and mobile, both iOS and Android. The Verge covered it directly, Anthropic launching Cowork on mobile and web. Here's why that constraint mattered before. Agentic AI sessions, where the AI works through a multi-step task on its own, used to require a desktop connection. If you weren't at your computer, you couldn't check on it. AI agents increasingly run for hours on complex tasks. Keeping users tethered to a desktop the entire time defeats the purpose. Mobile changes that completely. Delegate a task from your phone. Monitor a long-running agent session remotely. Pick up the same work seamlessly across devices. The Decoder called this a likely preemptive move. Anthropic knew ChatGPT Work was coming. Look at how tightly packed July 9th actually was. 4 major launches. One single day. This timing is not a coincidence. Think about what it takes to ship a product like this. Months of development. Testing. Coordination. Both companies knew what was coming. Both prepared a competing product in advance. And both chose to launch on the single busiest news day of the year. That is a strategic signal, not an accident. Neither company wanted to let the other own the daily work app narrative alone. The model war got most of the headlines yesterday. But underneath it, a different war, just as important, actually started. Not which model scores highest on a benchmark. Which company owns the interface you open 40 times a day. Here's how the two products actually compare, feature by feature. Let's get practical. If you're a developer living inside Codex and ChatGPT already, ChatGPT Work removes real daily friction. One surface for code and general work. If your job involves long-running agent tasks, research, multi-step analysis, ongoing monitoring, Claude Cowork's mobile support is the more practical unlock. You are not chained to a desk to check on your AI's progress. If you're choosing based on ecosystem lock-in, look at which tools your team already pays for. Neither is a universal winner. They are optimizing for two different daily patterns. Here's the shift in one picture. The model race isn't over. But the workflow race just became just as important. Zoom all the way out. For 2 years, the AI narrative was entirely about model quality. Which lab has the smartest model this month? That race is not going away. But a second race just opened, right alongside it. Whoever owns your daily workflow interface captures something a benchmark win cannot. Habit. If you open the same app 40 times a day, switching costs become enormous, regardless of which model is technically superior. That is why both companies moved on the same day. They are not just competing for your trust in their intelligence. They are competing for your muscle memory. Here's my read on this. Model benchmarks will keep swinging back and forth every few weeks. That is normal now. But workflow habits do not swing back and forth. Once your team commits to a daily interface, switching is expensive and slow. That is exactly why OpenAI and Anthropic both shipped work apps on the same day instead of waiting. The model war made the headlines. The workflow war will make the money. Subscribe for daily AI coverage. Comment, are you switching to ChatGPT Work, Claude Cowork, or staying put? Tell me your daily workflow and I will tell you which one fits it.